to the Jungle, a slightly controversial way to open up a presentation. But Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses and the American education system are somewhat comparable. Both are a little crazy and both are a little hectic, and both have a lot going on. I feel that my educational thinker, Hirsch Jr., would agree with this. Hirsch Jr. was born Eric Donald Hirsch Jr. on March 22, 1928, in Memphis, Tennessee. He went to Cornell University and graduated in 1950, and later went on to get his doctorate at Yale University in 1957. He became a professor at the University of Virginia, where he is Professor Emeritus of Humanities and Education. He is a well known author and literary critic, but his most well known work is probably that of Cultural Literacy, What Every American Needs to Know. And now you're probably thinking, what is cultural literacy? Well, cultural literacy is the basic idea that everybody within a culture needs to have a shared body of knowledge. Everyone must have a shared knowledge within a culture. A shared culture needs specific information taught to them so we can understand each other and communicate effectively. And that's the basis of all of E.D. Hirsch's philosophy. We need to have a shared basic knowledge. And he said, without shared understandings and a common base of knowledge, there can be little hope of closing the gaps between the culturally literates and illiterates, the advantaged and the disadvantaged, and the rich and the poor. And this was an ideology and a fact that he noticed at a very young age. In 1944, when he was just 16 years old, he read a book that changed his life. It was called An American Dilemma, and it showed the imbalance and the injustice in the education system on educating all people from whatever class of people you are, whatever ethnicity, and just giving a nice education for all people. And he noticed that the American education system was not doing that, and this led him on his path to education reform, one cornerstone of which is essentialism. E.D. Hirsch Jr. is a well-known essentialist, and the basis of essentialism is that we need to return to basics, to the education that we used to be getting, but now it's not really happening. So we need to focus on the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And E.D. Hirsch Jr. is big on that. He's big on literacy and reading comprehension. And he believes that public schools are failing students in teaching us how to be literate people. And essentialism tends to be the mainstream way of education in many countries, including here in the United States, and is focused on facts and truth rather than on new and innovative educational techniques. E.D. Hirsch Jr. is someone that doesn't like big, flowery things. He likes things just being basic and straight to the point, a skill and drill way of going about education. And he was shocked into educational reform when he did a study on 2 colleges in the state of Virginia, one at the University of Virginia and one at a community college in Richmond, Virginia. Students were given a passage to read about Lee's surrender to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse during the Civil War, and he stated that the university students read it with ease, whereas the community college people could not read it because they had no idea who Lee was, who Grant was, and what the context was. And he was shocked that some students didn't have the knowledge to fully comprehend that article. And he said that they didn't have a basic background knowledge of it. And you're probably wondering, what is background knowledge? Well, background knowledge is something that you have that you can build upon another skill to learn more. He believes about learning builds on learning. And a good example of this is in math. In math, you have to know addition in order to do subtraction. You have to know how to do multiplication in order to do division. Each skill builds upon another, and he's very big on that, which led him to create the Core Knowledge Foundation. And the mission of the Core Knowledge Foundation is to advance excellence and equity in education for all children. So they're big about equality in education, teaching all students what they need to know in all the same subject matter so they can be fully competent people. And that's part of the ideology of essentialism, to form a society of people who are competent and can go out into the world and do what they need to do. Now, the Core Knowledge Foundation has led to movements in this country and other countries as well, but one big important thing that it's led to in this country is Common Core standards. Those were implemented in 2009, and it's done state by state. Each state has different standards. Here in Virginia, we don't use Common Core standards, we use the standards of learning. And many states have adopted the Common Core standards, and many states had adopted it and have later dropped it. So it's a little controversial in that way, and a lot of people don't really like it because it's implemented by the government, and some people don't like that, and some people feel that you can't have a really big core curriculum for all people that's exactly the same, because you can't make sure that everybody's learning the exact same thing. However, Hirsch wants a similar core curriculum for all. That's his big thing. And some criticisms against Hirsch are that he's seen as too conservative, that he's not very open minded to new and innovative ideas. He's not really open to new things happening in education. He's stuck on his own philosophy. And some people see his curriculum as superficial and elitist. I don't see him as an elitist because he wants equality in education and education for all, not just a certain class of people or just these certain people. He wants it for everyone. And my criticism against him is that within his core knowledge foundation, I didn't see any mention of special education or educating children with special needs. And I'm really big on that, as I'm someone who's going into special education as well. I feel like it's very important to educate children with special needs, and we need a way of going about doing that. And since E.D. Hirsch Jr. is a big education reformist, we're seeing a lot of education reform in the United States today. There's a big uprising amongst teachers in many states for some new educational changes and some new reform in education. And I think that's going to be an ongoing thing in years to come. And I think E.D. Hirsch has helped lead us on a path to more education reform.